1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 70. I don't know if you guys heard.
I did over 1,000.
I did 70. Man, I was waiting for the stupid thing to end. My arms are killing me right now, but welcome to
Keep going. Keep curling.
I'm going to hit myself in the face. Hello all, and welcome to Hockey on Tap podcast. This is episode 13. Let's get Kraken. See the pun on that one. I'm your host, Bill Dean, and I'm here, of course, with my two co-hosts, Steve Echevarria and Mike Sandillo, a.k.a. Little Steven Schwimm. We are also joined by our producer and Devils Hockey, and Let's Go Devils podcast host, Sam Wu. Man, I am out of breath now.
Hey, Sam.
Hi, Sam. Also going to have a special guest, Villano. Beers. Guys, what beers are we drinking?
Schwimm.
I'm first?
Yeah.
I am drinking a beer from Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden. It's Omnipollo. It's called Double Moa. It's a lemon sour ale. Only 6%. I thought it would be a little bit higher, but only 6%. Pretty good. Very, very tangy, very lemony. I picked this because of its colors, blue, obviously, and silver for Tampa, and Sweden for my boy Victor Hedman.
All right. I'm going outside the box a little bit here since we tend to focus on IPAs and sours. This one actually Schwimm got, which I stole from him. Look at the artwork on this thing. This is another Nightmare brew. I don't know where I'm going with this camera.
There you go.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So what this is a barley wine, and what barley wines traditionally are very high in alcohol, and this one is no exception to that at 15.4%. So this might be an interesting podcast by the end. So this has they typically taste very much like a bourbon and not so much like a beer. But this one is brewed with what's in this guy? With birch and black cherry bark, sarsaparilla, ginger, dandelion root, and licorice root aged on Tahitian vanilla. So there is a ton of flavor happening in this.
Good old sarsaparilla.
Yeah, but obviously the artwork is probably the coolest thing I've ever freaking seen in my life. But this beer is it's got a whole mess of flavor in it. What does it do, Dean? To the tongue?
What? Tickles the tongue?
Yeah. A little more enthusiastic next time, please.
No, it rests on the tongue. I don't remember what I said. Sam, what are you drinking?
It lingers on the tongue.
No,
well,
it sits on the tongue?
I would like to dedicate this drink to my good friend Rebecca Morse, who plays on the Metropolitan Riveters, Women's Professional Ice Hockey League.
Cheers.
I'm drinking some alcoholic Dunkin' Donuts or Dunkin' because they support women's ice hockey and the NWHL, and I'm just feeling toasted right now after that little sip. And also, I like to plug from the Let's Go Devils podcast labs. We created this T-shirt a while ago, and I found it. My wife was doing some cleaning, and she's like, "You want that shirt? Do you still need that shirt? That raggy shirt?" I was like,
really
of course I do. Yeah. Actually, you know what? No, she said it in another tone. I just can't mimic her voice. Anyway, so
she's gonna love that imitation, by the way.
Yeah. Hopefully she's not watching.
Yeah, and my wife just said I'm gonna hurt myself, and my arms are on fire. So, anyways, I'm drinking a Westbrook Brewing Co. No, actually, it wasn't a while. I did a lot there, and I shouldn't have. Peanut Butter Shake IPA by Westbrook. It's really good. Light peanut butter, but really good IPA. Absolutely recommend it. All right, guys. So enough BS. We actually got a big time show. Lots to go over. Let's get to what's on tap for today's episode. We will discuss the weekly snapshot, our weekly NHL news update, which I actually just coined. But I used to have something when I worked at NHL.com called the Weekly Wire when I wrote there. So I wanted to play onto that. As well as we're going to have our special guest, Nick Villano, chat with us about the qualifying round matchups. We'll see how many we can get going for today, and then maybe we'll do another one if we don't have time. But all right, big time news. Obviously, this week, Seattle announced their team name. They are the Kraken. So Schwimm can give us a little quote if he wants. No.
What's Kraken? Blacken?
Yeah, sure. The team announced the name, the logo, which I thought was pretty cool. They gave their jerseys, all three of them. Ron Francis's press conference was really good too. So we encourage you to go out and take a look at that. We've also posted to our social media accounts with the logos and the team jerseys. I'm a fan. I like the Kraken. I thought it was a good one. The Sockeyes would have been another pretty decent one, but there were a couple other ones, Emerald, Totems. I don't know. You guys like that?
I heard one about the Rain City bitch pigeons. I'm a little upset that one didn't go through.
How did that one
that's really upsetting. Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of this team name. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Greek mythology in general. But this is just real cool. Really outside the box. You don't see any names like this in professional sports. It's just kind of like I don't know, just really cool. I'm glad it's not generic and just something recycled and reused. So I'm excited. I like the logo. The logo's pretty cool. It's basic but cool.
Another team that doesn't have an S at the end of their name. They're one of the few
singular.
Singular, and I think the logo's pretty cool. The jersey colors are okay, I guess.
Yeah.
What I'm anticipating is I want whatever goalie plays for them. He better have the coolest friggin' mask.
Oh yeah.
Ever.
And
You
pads.
better have friggin'.
You could do some really cool pads.
Oh my! You could have like tentacles all over the place. It'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Who's going to be their goalie?
I don't know.
Who will be their starting goalie?
I mean, it could be Fleury.
It could be.
It could be.
Matt Murray.
Can you imagine he goes to another one? Yeah, Matt Murray's another one. Yeah. But we'll get into that. We'll get into the whole, draft for that later on. Obviously, that's next year.
Good podcast to have.
We also, another good one, they ranked team names from best to worst. And the best, I'll give you real quickly, was the Nordiques. And the worst was the Anaheim Mighty Ducks.
So the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim.
Whatever.
That
was the worst one. That's what happens when you give Disney a team. So, all right. So going on, the teams are in Edmonton, Toronto. They traveled there throughout the weekend. I think from Friday all the way to Sunday. People teams got there. Players are still getting there. Some have obviously had family matters to attend to or other things, so teams allowed them to happen. So they're still going to be quarantined for a little while. They disinfected all the incoming gear. A part of this, and Steve talked this before, but no positive tests over the whole last week. So that was really great news for the NHL. So COVID in their numbers is 0. So that's awesome. Teams actually did some pretty cool things too. They gave hotels photos of the players' families, and they put them in the room for them. So I think Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson tweeted out some photos, but the Preds sent photos to the hotel, and he had his family in there, so it felt like home. A little more feeling like home. So they're finding top safety. So they're finding safety the top priority upon arrival in these hub cities. So pretty cool stuff, guys.
Yeah.
I heard the photos were like digital photos so like their family can send them like new photos throughout the whole time, and they'll have,
clicking through.
Keep that's really cool. That was like a really cool. I heard a lot of guys. I was following some of the Tampa stuff. Pat Maroon was really big. You always see him and his kids at games and everything, and after games.
I like the Pat Maroon face in the
at the giant Pat Maroon head behind the goal. They said that was a really cool surprise. I thought that was
also
cool
the amenities at the hotel per phase 4. The players had actually input on this, but let's go over this quickly. But they had everything from video games to pool tables to TVs, so that players can come in and sit down. They can grab different things, and it's only their own team. So all these hotels are doing the same thing. And like they said, players had all of this ability, all this input into this bubble life. So everything that's going on there is pretty good stuff. So we'll see how that continues to go. Let's get into a couple of player news. So Schwimm, you want to touch base on Hedman, Stammer?
Sure. So Stamkos, did travel with the team. He actually had his first full practice since coming back today. Although he's not going to play in the exhibition game, but they're saying that they still expect him to play once they start playing. Hedman is staying behind. He had a personal matter to attend to. They said they're not worried about him. He also is not going to play in the exhibition game, which I honestly don't care who plays in the exhibition game. It's going to be pointless. So I'm glad. And Stamkos is coming back from an injury, so they can take their time with him. And those 3 games that they're going to play against Boston, Philly, and Washington aren't really that important. So you don't have to rush him back for those games either. So he'll have time to heal and hopefully be ready to go once they're playing after those qualifying rounds are done.
Steve, you want to touch base on Crosby?
Yeah, so Crosby, they had another scrimmage, inter-squad scrimmage on Saturday. There was speculation that he would play since he had a full practice on Friday. He did not. So there was minor concern, but he skated in the morning. Today in Toronto, skated full participant in the practice. And he might play in the exhibition game tomorrow against Philadelphia. Not entirely sure. The one thing that I was curious about, and I don't know, not to go off on a tangent, but I don't know if you guys had any news on this. I was reading on Dave Molinari. I didn't even know the answer to this. But there was, I think Claude Julien may have alluded to this, that the teams may be able to bring more players for the exhibition game, so have a larger roster, so they can play their starters for maybe a period and then sit them and then play like their reserve squad for the remainder of the game. I haven't heard. I don't know if you guys heard. I went to look it up and I couldn't find any answer, which leads me to believe that that's not the case, because I figured I would have found that somewhere, and it's probably regular. But that'd be nice if that were the case. Is this way they can play against players other than their own teammates for once, to just kind of get prepared for the qualifying round.
Couple other quick injury / player notes. Dougie Hamilton is out. He's unfit to play. Ilya Samsonov with the Washington Capitals, their backup goaltender, possibly even their starter. He's going to be out with an injury. Corey Crawford is back. He actually came out and said that he had a positive COVID test. So that's why he was away, but he's going to be back in Chicago. Obviously, those fans are going to be very happy about that. Max Pacioretty is also out. He's still technically on the roster. They haven't, obviously, it's the whole unfit to play thing, so we don't know any news on him, but he is out. David Pastrnak with the Bruins practiced full today. He will be back most likely during the round-robin play. Andre Kasha, though, is not in Toronto. He should be back at some point, but they have no idea on him, the timetable. So, I don't know what's going on, but I know last week we talked about Kel McCarr. He's back. Nathan McKinnon gave Colorado a scare. He actually sat out, but they came back and just told him it was a 1 day of maintenance. Aaron Ekblad with Florida Panthers is back after being out for a couple days. Carter Hart, Phillies goaltender, which, they thought it was a big loss. He had suffered an injury during practice. He's back. And Brett Pesce is also out. So also we talked about Keith Seabrook.
Brent Seabrook, yeah.
Brent Seabrook, thank you, being out. I'm thinking Keith.
Yeah, Brent Seabrook just doesn't. He's been practicing the whole time. He just doesn't think that he's ready to play. So basically, opted out, I guess.
Yep.
Opted out without officially opting out.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. Just a couple. I know I'm running through things, so I apologize for stepping on you guys. But AJ Dean on my brother, obviously, just talking about had a couple quick questions. He said he liked the colors, the logo, but he did ask a question about the baseball. And this does actually, kind of affect NHL. But Phillies and Marlins. Marlins obviously had a lot of players test positive for COVID, and the MLB is talking about shutting down for a little while. And he asked, do you think the NHL will mirror what the MLB does if a breakout happens within a team? You guys want to take that first?
Yeah. So
can I say something?
AJ, sure.
Sorry, because I actually did some research on this. I read an article that the NHL, Gary Bettman and Bill Daly actually leaned to Anthony Fauci, Dr. Fauci, for some guidance on it. They followed it to a T, moving it to Canada, right, which was an unpopular move at the time. Also having hub cities as well, and the containment. So, and it seems to be working. Secondly, with Major League Baseball, I mean, there was a reason why Canada did not
Didn't want
want
him in.
the Toronto Blue Jays in, and there were some good reasons for it. So we would have to respect that. I think the NHL players right now, as safe as they can be. So that's pretty much the best you can do, barring, players going rogue and suddenly, they're flying back home and through the night and then coming back the next day. I think they're taking it very seriously. So that should be very interesting. And also, I don't think any of the players, I think their conscience don't want to leave their teammates hanging if there is a game 7 of a third round sometime in September. And and I think they're going to take as much precaution, as possible. So anyway, I just wanted to, put that out there that Dr. Fauci was actually involved in part of the planning. That's where the league got the advice from. So that's why things are the way they are.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, Sam, I agree that the NHL, this is, out of all the major sports leagues, the NHL in the United States, the NHL is in the best situation right now. I felt like the MLB and the NFL, those who are excited about the NFL coming back, I wouldn't get too excited. I'm personally giving it about a 10% chance of there being a full NFL season. That's just containing players, all of those massive rosters for 5 months throughout it's completely unrealistic. These are, 20, low 20, mid 20-year-old kids, but anyway, we won't get off on the NFL. But good news on the NHL. I know we touched base on the COVID tests, and there weren't any positive tests. Just some numbers to throw at you, just to see how, just to show how good they're doing. So 0 positive results from 4,256 tests administered during last week, and that's more than 800 players tested through July 18th through the 25th. 0 out of 4,256 tests. So they're doing a hell of a job. I'm very confident that they can get this finished. I think NHL has the best chance, especially being in Canada, even better chances. NBA probably will, I think, can realistically finish, but MLB and
they're all in one area.
NFL are in trouble.
Well, that's why traveling is such a big mistake for those teams. They should have just left them in Arizona, Arizona baseball, and then gone that way.
Yep.
And then NFL, we'll see what happens. But Schwimm, you got anything on that real fast before we keep going?
I'm just glad that somebody's actually listening and using Dr. Fauci. Using his expertise to, but like when
just medical experts in general.
Everybody was like, when we found out that it was gonna be Edmonton, Toronto, we're just like, you got to be kidding me, blah blah blah. But then we're just like, wait a minute, it's horrible here in the U.S. COVID wise, and not so much in Canada. So I'm like, the NHL was actually really really smart about this, and I think they're
lucky too, because they had so many Canadian cities to choose from.
And now they're in hub cities. Are the other sports even doing that? Are they going to introduce doing hub cities like is
the
basketball?
NFL? I don't. Yes, the basketball is, but the NFL has no. I don't think there's anything as far as the NFL, which is why it's just like, people, they're going to go out. The players, the kids, they're going to go out. They're going to do stuff, and
there's no way they're able to contain everybody.
I cannot imagine that there is a full NFL season. I just cannot. I can't fathom it. And MLB, you're seeing with MLB, so yeah, we'll see.
Couple quick notes. Teams still are undecided on goaltenders. Rangers, Preds, Canes, Flames still have no one on the tap for starting. Ben and Sagan were both reunited with the Stars. Oilers honored Colby Cave, which was pretty good. So I recommend take a look at that video on NHL, everything. And then Colby Cave's wife Emily actually came out and gave a little something each player. So they'll be wearing that underneath their jerseys. So they're dedicating their season. Pretty good stuff. We'll get into some other signings later because there were some good NHL news. John Chayka's out in Arizona. Steve Sullivan's the interim GM. The owner's son Marullo is more involved, and obviously Javier Gutierrez is partaking in Hall negotiations. Chayka, was left out of that Hall, talks. Just my quick note on this. I mean, look at Tampa Bay, Pitt, Chicago, Boston, and then look at Buffalo, Phoenix, and Ottawa. I mean, great ownership and, a front office, guys that talk to each other. Those teams, they work, and that's the reason why they get reign supreme. So, we will have our guest today, Nick Villano, join. Sam, do you want to go through? We got him on yet?
God.
Well, anyways, all right, we'll keep going. Eddie Shack passed away, four-time Cup winner with the Leafs. The 2021 World Juniors will now have an online hockey camp. I'm not really sure what that's going to entail, but that did come out. You want to just talk little NHL awards finalists for 2020 real fast? We'll just go over a quick list. So we didn't get a chance to talk about that earlier. All right, Hart Trophy. Hart and Ted Lindsay, both the same thing. Nice.
Schwimm's notes, they're ruined.
Oh man.
Good thing I committed everything to memory.
Hart and Ted Lindsay both have the same group of forwards. Leon Draisaitl with Edmonton Oilers. Jesus. Nathan McKinnon with the Colorado Avalanche, and Artemi Panarin with the New York Rangers. Schwimm slurps beer off of the table.
Spilled beer off the table.
Is this table clean?
All right. So Sam, go ahead while this idiot goes.
Let Schwimm clean himself up here.
Yeah, well, clean up the beer, guys. Anyway, I have my podcast partner on the Nova Product Design Hotline, but before we intro Nick in, I got to tell you a couple things. Getting back to the Dr. Fauci, the hottest baseball card right now is a Topps baseball card, a Dr. Fauci. So I got to get my hands on that because it's a collector's item, a good investment. And then I made a joke. Is it like a, Hannes Wagner tobacco card? Get it? Anyway, so you got to get that. Secondly, on the podcast yesterday, we were taking predictions. So, and I know Mr. Villano has been doing some research, but I'm supposed to take down all the predictions from this podcast from Billy, Lil Steve, and Schwimm, and Nick as we compare our predictions. I don't even remember what I predicted. But anyway, on the Nova Product Design Hotline from Pucks and Pitchforks blog, the one and only Nick Villano. Nick, buddy, you're on with Billy, Schwimm, Lil Steve, and the greatest podcaster of all time, myself, Sam Wu. How are you tonight?
I thought you were going to say Melvin.
I thought so too.
If you're the greatest podcaster of all time, then I'm taking offense to the fact that you never talk on my podcast.
Well, that's why we don't really have him talk all that much. We just asked him on today to be nice.
Uh-oh, here he comes.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right. So, Nick, welcome to the pod. Obviously, taking, we've listened to your pod for a little while, and you guys do great over there. We wanted to talk a little matchups, and I think the big thing was going, team by team, not team by team, but matchup by matchup, kind of, giving a little bit of thoughts. And we're going to do the same thing at the same time. So, we'll actually just start it off by going over that Eastern Conference. The first matchup being, we'll go right to my team, the New York Rangers, and versus the Carolina Hurricanes.
Just skip mine.
It is. No, but it actually is. Oh yeah. Oh wait, Pittsburgh is top above them, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shit. Sorry.
Sure
all right. Fine.
Sorry.
We'll do Pittsburgh and the
Start
Canadiens.
with the Rangers.
All right. Fine. All right. So Nick, you want to give your thoughts on that real fast?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I was looking at a hockey odds maker thing today that called the Montreal Canadiens the favorites, and I'm flabbergasted at what's happening in our world.
That's fantastic.
The Canadiens are terrible this year. Carey Price is like we're sitting here thinking that like that's no winner. Carey Price is coming out of the woodwork because he had a couple months off. I don't know where you see that. He was terrible in the beginning of the season. Okay, terrible to his standards. He's still a starting caliber goalie, but I'm not sitting here putting my entire season on the back of Carey Price anymore. He doesn't have that ability anymore. And when you look at the Penguins, look at this team got healthy. They're getting Jake Gensel back. Now, they now have they have the ability to put Gensel next to Crosby and Connor Sherry. Sherry's one of the players that's had the best chemistry with Crosby throughout his entire career. He's basically like the new Kunitz, the guy who doesn't have the talent that we expect, and if he goes somewhere else, he's not going to do as well. But with Crosby, it's just magic. So we have that going for them. They obviously have Malkin. They have a top 1-2 punch. And when you look at how this return to play is going to go, the teams that have that long-term chemistry that can do things in their sleep, that have played together over and over and over again and don't have to build that chemistry out of nowhere, I think those are the teams that are going to move past this initial 5-game series, because this is like losing 3 games is not hard. So a lot of these teams are going to have their work cut out for them, but I don't see the Penguins as one of those teams. I just feel like they have so much more. The big question is, are they going to waste their time with Matt Murray? I'm sorry, but like when Tristan Jarry was that much better than Matt Murray was this season, I understand that he has the pedigree and he won Stanley Cups, but Corey Schneider was once good too, but I do not want him anywhere near the net when something is on the line. So the same goes for Matt Murray right now. I know he's young and I know he has a lot of promise to go, but Tristan Jarry was just straight up better. And we've seen it before with, say, I'm going back here, but Cam Ward and Martin Gerber. The Carolina Hurricanes were like, this isn't working. Went with Cam Ward, never looked back. They won the Stanley Cup. If the Penguins are going to be a Stanley Cup contender, they have to forget everything that's already happened, just like they did with Marc-Andre Fleury. And I think that they just need to go with Jarry and just call it a day.
Yeah, this is a very, very, like you mentioned that at the end there, this is almost identical to the Marc-Andre Fleury, Matt Murray case when they won back-to-back cups, where Marc-Andre Fleury was the starting goalie for the entire 2016 season, but due to injury, it just so happened that Murray took the reins and rolled with it. 2017, it was Fleury in the beginning. Matt Murray hurt himself, and Fleury, I think if it wasn't for Fleury against Columbus and Washington, they don't move past with Matt Murray in net. I think Murray was great against Nashville, and especially in those last 2 games. But that was a big decision for Sullivan to pull Fleury one game and then ride Murray the rest of the way. So as much as I still think Matt Murray's going to start game 1. I don't care much for it. I don't know what's going to happen in the exhibition game. I'm not entirely sure who's going to start, if they're going to split, what's going to happen. Because Tristan Jarry has also, not only in the season, all throughout camp, has outshined Matt Murray as well. So it's going to be tough. I still think Matt Murray's in there game 1, but I do think he has a pretty short leash, and as soon as he shows any sign of weakness, Jarry comes in, and then Jarry stays the course.
I've been saying Jarry the whole time. I just, like, by the eye test and by everything, I've been saying it should be Jarry the whole time. I also have a prediction for game 1. Carey Price is going to make a spectacular save in the first period, and immediately following that, Matt Murray is going to let up the worst goal you've ever seen in your life.
That's not that.
That's what's going to happen. First period, game 1. Watch for it.
That's like somewhat predictable.
Yes.
I feel like that's not going out on a limb too much there.
Yeah,
so we want to go through our predictions. Who do we got? Who do we have and how many games? Nick, what do you think?
I'm going Penguins, and I guess I'll give the Canadians a game, so Penguins in 4.
Yeah, I agree. Penguins in 4 also, just because Pittsburgh likes to just screw up at least one game.
Game 1.
I'm saying it's going to be game 3. They go up 2-0 and lose game 3 and then win game 4.
Yeah, I think that Carey will take a game. I'll go Penguins in 4 as well.
Yep.
All right, across the board, Sam. Write it down.
Wow.
You already got one, Sam, or did you already?
Well, Shorts Guy wrote down yesterday, but just to be a jerk, I'm going to say Canadians, just to spite Steve.
In a sweep?
And it's in 3-game sweep.
If the Canadians sweep the
with
Penguins.
Carey Price letting in 1 goal.
Oh my God.
No, it's going to be a 2-game sweep because they're going to be so embarrassed they won't show up for game 3.
All right, so that's a bold prediction.
I like it.
See how it works out.
All right, so let's go now to the next.
Way of a good story.
Yeah.
Let's go to the 6-11 Hurricanes Rangers. Sorry, Steve again. From Nick, let's get your thoughts on this first. As that Devils fan, I'm sure you're gonna give my Rangers a little bit of grief here. So
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna lose a lot of flack for what I'm about to say. So, but that's okay. I am nothing if I'm not honest. I think the Hurricanes are the more talented team. I don't think it's very close. I think it's Artemi Panarin is the best player in the series, but beyond that, it's like Hurricanes, especially when you look at the defense. The Rangers defense is a sieve, and, Lindy Ruff isn't there, so good for you guys. You somehow put that on us. I appreciate that.
Yes. Finally, a Devils fan agrees.
I think he's great. No, I think Lindy Ruff is a great offensive coach. I don't know why you had him coaching the defense. That just
I have no idea either.
But anyway, the Hurricanes are going to get. Dougie Hamilton, I guess, is still up in the air. I guess he got hurt again, but
He got hurt again.
He's coming back. Which I guess is, like I said, I guess it's still up in the air. But let's assume he's coming back. So you're getting a Norris caliber defenseman coming back. Then you had Sammy Vatanen, who people forget was the Devils' best defenseman this year. He was the number one guy on the power play. He was playing top line minutes with Subban at times. But then he was playing on the second line. He was really good on the second line. He was carrying the line at times with Damon Severson. And then they traded him because he was injured, and the Hurricanes are not happy with how that trade worked out because I guess he was more injured than he was made out to be. Point being, they could have done the physical and yada, yada, whatever. They have him now. He's fully healthy. Brett Pesce, I guess, is still up in the air, and I don't think he's going to be available for this first series. But still, you have Jacob Slavin. That defensive unit might be the most talented in hockey.
I think they're the best in the league.
But they've never played together. They've never played together. Sam Vatanen has not played a second of even practice hockey before this week or whatever, before this return to play situation with that team. So where are you going to put him? And then Hamilton's been hurt since January, and he's out of nowhere just going to go to game speed. I'm worried. I think that the hot goalie is Sturkin over Peter Mrazek or Reimer. I would assume they go with Mrazek because he had a pretty good season. He's just coming off an injury too, so he's completely cold. And Reimer was coming off an injury. That's how you got David Ayers. So Carolina just has I don't see them having chemistry. Oh, and they got Brady Skay from the Rangers. They also got him, and they didn't have a lot of time gain chemistry. I don't know how to say his name. I make them up as I go.
Brady Shea. It's all right. It's okay.
Shea.
Like Shea Theodore.
You're preaching to the choir over there, all right? This guy mispronounces everybody's name.
I'm never going to say names right. I will make sure I get them right if they're a guest on my podcast. Besides that, I'm just going to say how it's.
That's a smart way to podcast right there. Get their name right.
Phonetically.
Yeah.
So what's your prediction?
I'm going with the Rangers in 5 because I just.
Whoa.
The Carolina has struggled against this team all season long. They don't have the chemistry. I think they're going to go down 2-0. They're going to fight back, but I think the Rangers are going to take it in 5, and then the Rangers are going to get swept in the second round.
Oh, I love it. Nice. All right, I'll give my quick take on this. Obviously, Carolina, I think their decor is the best in the league. That's 6, and then you have guys that are going to be sitting that should be playing. So, they're lethal. Jacob Slavin is probably the best shutdown defenseman in the NHL. He's going to be a Hart Trophy candidate very soon, as well as I think he will be. He's growing. I think he's going to be very good. Anyways, watch. Hey, we'll bet on that one. Zona bet. He'll be in the Norris conversation one of these years. Sorry, I meant Norris. I did not mean Hart.
Oh, okay.
That was a complete mess
finalist.
up.
I'll say finalist. I don't think he's going to win it.
Okay.
Continue.
I said finalist in the Norris conversation. Okay.
He won't win.
Anyways, their goalies are trash. I think that Mrazek and James Reimer are, the kind of goalies you don't want to see going into a playoff series.
David
their forwards,
prediction.
I believe that. Well, actually, here, quick thing. Their goaltenders, they had 5 goaltenders with a win this season, which is the most in the NHL. They've had, that kid Ned, Alex Djokovic, or whatever his name is.
Delkovich,
but they have a lot of good. Yeah, they have a lot of good.
There you go, Nick.
Their forwards, obviously, that top line, Aho, Teravainen, and Svechnikov is ridiculous. Rangers do have the best player in the series. I also think they have the second best player, but that's just being a little homer. And Zibanejad, who had an otherworldly season. Yeah, that's fine. I think the Rangers' top 6 is good. Their bottom 6 is hot garbage. Their defense, other than Foxy, is putrid, and they have the goaltenders, right? They have 3 guys that are going to start.
Wait. I have to ask you something real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but if the Hurricanes came to you and said, I will trade you either Aho or Svechnikov for Zibanejad, straight up, you'd say no.
I'd have a conversation about it. The guy's 26 years old and just led the league in goals per game at .72, which is the second highest to Stammer in 2011-2012. That's the next highest goals per game. I mean, the last 2 years he's been on fire. It's a conversation you're gonna have to have, right? But right now, the way they're playing, he is the second best player in this series. I'm not saying long term, but this series he's the second best player. And obviously the goaltenders, I think they take it. My heart says Rangers in 5, which is what I'm going to go with, but my head says Carolina in 5. So
what is your official?
I'm going with my heart. I want the Rangers to win, so I'm going to say 5.
I hope you're picking your team.
Yeah, of course I would.
Right.
But just going over it, I think
don't even mention Carolina.
I'm going to throw some stats at you real quick before I make my pick right here about the X Factor
and
here.
I'm going to take a sip of beer.
X Factor for Carolina being goaltending and Peter Mrazek. New York Rangers, obviously the defensive core. Rangers defensive core has allowed the second most, tied with Toronto, goals against per game of the qualifying round teams at 2.99, and the second most shots against per game of the entire league at 33.9. It's rough, and I don't see, even with Lindy Ruff gone, there's not enough time to adjust to a better defensive system. They're probably just staying with a very similar system since that's what they know and that's what they've been playing with. Carolina defense, on the other hand, has allowed the fourth fewest shots against per game in the entire league at 29.2. So it'd basically be up to Mrazek to backstop the, I guess just kind of stop the high quality chances. But X Factors alone, I'm going to give the edge to Carolina and their stout defensive core. They're pretty good offensive unit. Obviously, the Rangers has a solid line, but their defense is just entirely too weak. And I don't think Lundqvist or Shesterkin, whoever ends up taking the reins here, I don't think either of them can keep up with this. And I say Carolina Hurricanes in 5 games.
Whoa! I'm going to take. I'm going to agree with Dean for once, or maybe twice. It might have been twice now. I'm going Rangers in 5. I think every game is going to be 1-1-1-1. They're going to go back and forth, and then in Game 5, the Rangers are going to win it in overtime. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight series. So I think there's a lot of stuff.
Tell me Hurricanes in 3, Sam. Let's go. Hurricanes in 3. Come on.
No. First of all, my predictions were already picked yesterday's podcast. But my predictions right now is to, be a troll. But in this series, my horse in the race is to see Sami Vatanen play a lot of games so the Devils will get a better draft pick. Am I correct on that, Nick? Based on the conditional pick?
The Hurricanes are fighting that, so it's a long story.
Oh, well, anyway, we'll win.
The Hurricanes have come out. The owner of the Hurricanes came out and said, as far as he's concerned, the conditions have been met. So that's probably going to be one of the trades that goes to arbitration because it's probably the most volatile one that's going to arbitration, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole conditions thing is crazy.
So I'm picking Hurricanes in 5 because I would like to see Vatanen play 5 solid games as they move on.
Well done, Sam.
Yep.
Well, that is the Rangers series, Rangers-Canes series. Next up on the docket, the number 7 team, the other New York team, the Islanders, versus the 10 team, Florida Panthers. Nick, what's your thoughts?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to watch a lot of the series. This is.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is.
You and the rest of us.
Yeah.
I
was waiting.
And the Islanders are just cool. It's Barzal and it's fun. Sure, yeah, whatever. Listen, they made some ads at the trade deadline. They way overpaid for John Gabriel Pajot, but
terrible.
Lou's going for it. That's what Lou does. They got a couple interesting players back in Johnny Boychuk, Adam Pellich, and Casey Kazikas. I think that their defense is good enough that they're going to win the series. I just think that the Panthers are a mess. Quenneville's, he's a really good coach, but they put all their eggs in the Sergei Bobrovsky basket, and just like Carey Price, he's just not the same goalie, except the Panthers paid him after it was clear he wasn't the same goalie. So whatever. The Panthers have a lot of talent, but they've never been able to click and make it a team that's going places. So I just don't see them figuring it out all of a sudden right now. So I'm gonna go with New York in 3.
Whoa,
Wow.
sweep. I like
Sweep.
it.
Sheesh.
Nice.
Bold.
I like it.
I'll take the next one. I'll take the next one if you don't mind, Schwimm. So I'll go through this quickly because this actually surprised me. The Florida Panthers are actually the 6th highest scoring team in the league at 3.35 goals per game, which is, I mean, I always think of just Florida as being just a boring old team that's just kind of there. But yeah, 6th highest scoring team, but also the 3rd worst team in goals against per game at 3.07. The only 2 worst, Ottawa and Detroit. And I actually, if you guys really want to appreciate how awful Detroit was, go look and see where they rank and all of the stats team-wise. It's really kind of depressing, but I digress. So my X factor,
4th overall.
Yeah, well, so my X factor here is Bobrovsky had just an abysmal season, 3.23 goals against, 0.9 save percentage.
I'm actually surprised at that. I'm surprised it wasn't under 900.
I actually was too. I thought it was like 0.8 something. But,
I would have guessed it was 8.95.
He's routinely been awful in the playoffs, with the exception of maybe last year, a certain sweep that happened last year. But so I mean, if he can find some sort of form, I think Florida can win. The Islanders, on the other hand, with 22nd in the league in goals per game, 4th lowest of these qualifying round teams at 2.82 goals per game. And JG Pageau, who they just acquired, who just automatically took over as the leading goal scorer on the team with 26 goals. They're going to need him to find his scoring touch and find some sort of chemistry, because I think he played 1 game, maybe?
1 game. Yep, 1 game.
So taking all this in the hand, I think Bobrovsky's good enough. I don't think the Islanders are good at all. Trotz is a great coach, but I don't know. I'm just not convinced. I have the Panthers in 4.
Nice. I'll go quickly here.
Sure.
I'm picking the Panthers in 5 on the sole point that I want to go against Jeff Turner, because he's
if he's watching.
He's a friend of the show, but I hate the Islanders and I have to go against him. That's it.
And I'm gonna make it
I care less.
a Hockey on Tap podcast sweep for the Panthers. I'm taking them in 4. I think Bobrovsky comes out and plays well. It'll be the only series he plays well in. And I think that the Islanders, they do have some pretty decent pieces. I just think that this is going to hurt them more than a lot of other teams. Go ahead, Sam. What do you got?
I've got the Islanders sweeping the Florida Panthers, and here's why. The NHL considers this not a playoff series only by statistics, all right? And the Florida Panthers in the last 2 decades has a history of falling short, being a bubble team that's usually around 10th place and doesn't make the top 8. This year is no different. So I would say they're going to fall short. And Lou Lamoriello's New York Islanders
I knew that name was getting dropped.
is going to zoom by. And I hate Jeff Turner, but this pick is totally unbiased.
All right, we'll go to the 8-9. Pretty good stuff. Maple Leafs, Columbus Blue Jackets, and this is, I think, probably going to be the craziest series. I could see games being 1-0 on one side and then like 8-2 on the other. So, Nick, why don't you give a little touch base on this 8-9 series?
Yeah, of course. The Maple Leafs are obviously like the team with a stupid amount of talent, and they're getting even more because Nicholas Robertson could make the lineup. He had a ridiculous season in the OHL, and he's 18 years old and could jump right into this Blue Jackets lineup. And they have a couple interesting pieces coming back from injury. Ilya Mikheyev and Jake Muzzin, both come back. But again, they haven't played in a long time. Like I know everybody hasn't played in a long time, but extend that a couple of weeks for these two. When you look at this talent, it's just it looks like it should be no match. But I mean, look at the players that are coming back for Columbus. Seth Jones, Corpusalo is coming back. They Atkinson's coming back. Bjorkstrand's coming back. Nathan Gerby, players like that, like these players that still play a big role for them, all coming back. I think they're going to fall short, though. I'm going to go with Toronto in 5. I think that Columbus is going to scare another supremely talented team in the first round. I think they're going to fall a little bit short.
Schwimm, you want to take next dib?
Sure. I'll wait to give my prediction until the end. Toronto is on paper. They're one of the best teams, I think, on paper.
Third highest scoring team in the league.
And Columbus is one of the lowest scoring teams, I think, in the tournament, if not the lowest.
Third lowest scoring team in the league.
And in this tournament,
yes.
I think they're the worst. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be tough. But having said that, I think Columbus is a different team come playoff time. Obviously, I felt their wrath last season.
And then they got swept.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I don't know if that was... Anyway, continue.
But anyway, I think Seth Jones is going to be a huge factor in that game. There you go.
Thanks.
No
more?
No, I don't want any more.
All right.
Anywho,
just drinking over here.
Bunch of jerks. Yeah. But I think Toronto has like a ton of pressure on them being in Canada and always floundering in the playoffs, not living up to expectations. So I think they have a lot of pressure on them, and I think Columbus can take advantage of that, and that's why I think Columbus is going to squeak one out against them. And probably I'll go Columbus in 5.
Columbus in 5. Wow. Do you mind if I take this? Yeah, so I mentioned Columbus were the third lowest scoring team in the league, 2.57 goals per game, but actually the seventh best in shots on goal per game, which actually equates to the third worst shot percentage in the league at 7.9%. So bottom line, they need to finish their chances and create better quality scoring chances if they're going to compete against a very high-scoring Maple Leafs team, who I said were the third highest scoring team in the league, but they're actually also tied with the New York Rangers that I mentioned before, the second worst team in these qualifying rounds in goals against per game. Shots against their middle of the pack this season, so a lot's gonna be on Freddie Anderson here, but I just don't see Columbus they're just such a mediocre team, and their offense just is not very good. And I think Frederik Andersen is good enough, if not a very good goaltender. Their Toronto defense is, kind of okay, but I don't think Columbus's scoring can keep up with this. And this is a series that I would have given Toronto in 3 as a clean sweep, as I very much think that they're capable of. But we're talking about Toronto here, so Toronto in 4.
Yeah, so I also did Toronto in 4. Nick said it, but Nicholas Robertson was the prospect of the year. You had Ilya Mikheyev, who, his soup advocacy is just fantastic. And, he had that severed right wrist, and then Jake Muzzin coming back. I just think that this team's extremely talented. And Columbus, obviously Elvis, in net you got Korpisalo, but I think Elvis Merzlikins is going to be the goaltender. Seth Jones, that defense is probably the second best, extremely good. But yeah, I think they take it in 4. Sam?
Guys, I know I'm trolling here, but let's be realistic. Part of me I predicted the Vancouver Canucks to win the Stanley Cup. All right. And
nice.
Going back to the last pandemic, Toronto played Vancouver, and the Vancouver Millionaires lost to Toronto. And I feel that it may be a Toronto versus Vancouver history repeating itself after the pandemic. But I got to go with the BJs. BJs.
Oh, man.
BJs, you got to go with the BJs. I'm sorry, Leafs fans. I'm not trolling you, but when it's all said and done, you got to go with the BJs. Columbus Blue Jackets.
Me and Sam agree. BJs are good.
The Leafs actually had the second worst team name of all time as rated, so that was pretty good. They're like, Leafs? What? All right.
It's not even a real word. It's not even a real word.
Yeah,
the Leafs.
spelled wrong.
Leafs. Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah, let's go to the Western Conference. We got the Oilers and the Blackhawks. Nick, you want to touch base on this one?
The Oilers. This is the funniest matchup to me because it's basically like two of the same team on opposite sides of the conference. It's literally the Chicago Blackhawks, which are Patrick Kane and the corpse of Jonathan Toews, trying to carry this team as far as they possibly can. They have a couple of interesting pieces, obviously, but all the names on this team, Brent Seabrook, Duncan Keith, they're decrepit now. Like they're a shell of themselves.
Seabrook's not even playing.
There you go. It's Corey Crawford is obviously coming back from a COVID diagnosis too, so I have no idea what that's going to do an athlete, especially a goalie that's out there 60 minutes a game, and what that's going to do to energy level. And they're getting Calvin DeHaan back, and that's good to get a defenseman back, but they're just then when you look at the Oilers, I hate the makeup of the Oilers team. I really just think that they're built to lose in the playoffs, but I feel like the Blackhawks are built the same exact way, just worse. So I think Edmonton's going to make it past the series and then probably get destroyed by whatever team they end up facing. I know the seeding's a little wonky with the top four teams, but say it's Dallas. I just think Dallas with that goaltending and how good that team is from line 1 to line 4 and the defense, I just think that they get destroyed because you literally just have to stop Connor and Draisaitl, and that's a lot easier said than done. Those are two Hart Trophy candidates every year. Mm-hmm. But basically, I think that they can win the series against the Blackhawks, but I don't think they could get much farther than that.
Yeah.
So I'll say Oilers.
Oilers and how many? 4?
4.
Yeah, I agree. So going back to real quick before I say anything, just based on your stats there, I have some stats written down here. Leon Draisaitl, 110 points. Connor McDavid, 97 points. Third on the team, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 61 points.
Good number.
Fourth on the team,
major drop.
Newly acquired Tyler Ennis with 37. So secondary scoring just is not there. So yeah, that's some stats there for that top heavy, severely top heavy lineup that they have there. I don't know if you want me to keep going. So I mean, I can give my real quick my prediction if you want. With those, I mean, I think that's like you were saying, Nick. That's enough to get them past Chicago. Chicago needs their veterans to return to their Stanley Cup winning form. Kane, Toews, Keith, and Crawford, and maybe Kirby Dach could be that X factor there, centering the third line. Since Edmonton has no depth basically at all. In fact, 3 players on the lineup were a plus this season. Everybody else was in the negatives. I think even Leon Draisaitl with 110 points was a -7. So unless some sort of miracle happens and Kirby Dach can be that X factor and torment those bottom lines there at Edmonton, maybe something can happen. But I think maybe they can steal a game. But I agree, Nick, Edmonton in 4.
Yeah, so I got Edmonton in 4 too. The thing, if this was 2 years from now, I actually think Chicago's the better team. Just looking at it, those guys that they have coming down the pipeline, you obviously got Dylan Strome, you got Kirby Dach, you got Alex Nylander, Dominic Kubalik, you got DeBrincat.
Maybe Alexis
Lafreniere, maybe. You got Boquist as well. So that team almost resembles the team from 8 years ago. In another year that I might take them, but I just think Edmonton's firepower is better. I just think they have their goaltenders. Before I let the hand man go over here, Schwimm, you want to give a quick?
Yeah, real quick. I have a prediction that Edmonton will come out flying in that first game in the first period, but Mike Smith will try to play the puck too much and completely mess up something, and Chicago's going up 1-0. Chicago's going to win the first game, and then Edmonton will still win the series, but Chicago's going to win the first game because Mike Smith loves to mishandle the puck.
I can see that.
So I got Edmonton in 4. X factor, no X factor, because if they don't beat Chicago, then I don't know. I think they should just opt out from being in the playoffs ever again. That's ridiculous if they don't beat them. Go ahead, Sam.
Nick is probably used to my shenanigans, so he's probably immune to my predictions. But I think you guys are all wrong. Okay? Yes.
Oh boy.
Edmonton is young, they're exciting, and they had their little bad streak of first overall picks, right? You make a little trade for Adam Larson, but now Connor McDavid's so mature. But let me tell you what's the factor why I think the Blackhawks will win in Game 5. Okay, so hold on to your ears. This is why. Edmonton can't take the pressure because they're playing in their own environment. Right now, it's 24 hours of sunlight. They can't get any sleep. They're in their hometown, all isolated, ready to go, but the pressure's going to get to them. And then the experience of Patrick Kane, like he did in the Stanley Cup Finals when he scored that goal, that game-winning Stanley
that
Cup
no one
goal,
remembers.
and he skates by Pierre McGuire, or is he out there? Or he skates by, and then he shouts, "The puck is in the net, in the net." And the replay goes to Toronto, and Edmonton
I think he just killed Dean.
loses.
I
So
think
that's
he just
my
killed
prediction.
Dean.
Spit beer all over myself.
Oh, my
I didn't hear
goodness.
the beep coming. That was great. Oh man. All right. Well, while I try to digest that beer that went through my nose, Nashville Predators, Arizona Coyotes. Nick, what do you got?
So this one has me torn. So basically, Arizona is a mess, and all the questions that are going to Arizona are going to be like, "Hey, so your dude quit on you? You just kind of looked at other opportunities and just kind of was like, yeah, I'm cool with those opportunities over this one." You don't see GMs just kind of quit like that. That's nuts. So it all depends on how Tocchet could get this team to kind of rally around that. And I think there's a very good chance that you see MVP Taylor Hall in the series because he didn't do much to get himself paid, and his own team just offered him $7 million to re-sign and forego free agency. So he has to have some humbling thoughts in his head that my value is not what I am perceiving it in my head. So he probably thinks that he has to come out and be a world beater to try to make something happen. And then on the other side, obviously the Nashville Predators have a new coach in John Hines. He had a very interesting handling of that team for a while with Phil Forsberg and Matt Duchene playing 10 and 11 and 12 minutes a game. I don't think Nashville can win that way. I think the Coyotes are a better team than they look like on paper, and I believe the Coyotes are getting their goalies back, right? They're getting Kemper and
Ranta.
And Ranta. I think that so. I think that Arizona could win, but I think that I'm going to go with Nashville in 5 just because, like I said, I'm on the fence, but I think that they have the talent. I think the defense, I mean, they have, I think Roman Josi is the best defenseman in the league right now. And I think that their goalie situation will figure itself out, whether it's Saros, whether it's Rene. And I think that at the end of the day, Hines is going to figure out the best way to use these forwards. I don't know what he's going to do with this team long term. I don't think this is the right fit for him personally. I think that some of the younger teams with top-end talent were better suited for him, but this is the team he's on. He has to play Forsberg and Duchene and these top guys more than he has before, so I think that he's going to end up making those decisions and getting past this round in 5 games.
So I'll take it real fast. I think that Nashville, obviously with the goaltending situation, I think they do start off with UC Saros actually. And I think from there, their defense, like you said, Roman Josi, Dan Ellis, they got Hamhuis back. Matthias Ekholm, their defense is top notch. Only problem is that forward group, right? Roman Josi led the team in points with 65, and then the rest of their forwards are all in the 40 range. I mean, it's terrible. But I do think they do bounce back and they get some of these guys going. Arizona, dark horses. Where's Phil Kessel? Is he going to come back for this playoffs? I think that obviously Taylor Hall is going to have a big series just because he's good looking to get paid, and whether it's with Arizona or someone else, he's going to try to get everything out of that next team with a good playoff push here. They have some young guys in that lineup that will eventually, have better seasons, and they'll be in, better Stanley Cup contention. OEL's one of the best offensive defensemen in the league, and probably one of the most underrated. We also have Jacob Chitron. I think it's Nashville, and I think in 4.
Nashville in 4. Schwimm, I'll take this.
Go for it.
So there are a lot of things here, and Nick, you touched base on how much of a disaster the entire organization of Arizona is currently. I do think Rick Tocchet can control this team and have them focus, because Rick Tocchet is a great player coach. So I don't think the team itself is going to be too distracted by the disaster that's going up with the ownership and management, and I don't think this will affect the series at all. I do think Ranta and Kemper are, with the exception of Rask and Halak, I think this is probably the best goalie tandem in the league, and you can go with either of them. I mean, you can start either of them in this, and I think they can have success. The question is here. I think Taylor Hall is going to, like you said, Nick. I think he's going to find his MVP form, because he has to at this point. He's playing for a contract because he had a mediocre season, and he wants to get paid, so he's going to take his game to another level. But the X factor I have here is, like Dean, what you said, is Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel is notoriously fantastic in the postseason.
Yep.
And if he can step up and be some sort of a leader for this offense, especially, because this is what Arizona needs, is some kind of offense. And if Phil Kessel can find some form and lead this team offensively with Taylor Hall, mixed with a pretty stout defense, not a lot of big names there, but a pretty stout defense with some great goaltending, versus a Nashville team who's had nothing but underachieving forwards all season. They really need that Forsberg, Johansson, Arvidsson line to find the chemistry that they had that made them so dynamic for the previous 3 seasons. But the one thing that gave Nashville success when they made it to the Stanley Cup final was playing in Nashville. That was the big X factor for the Nashville Predators, winning games that season, and they don't have that. That is completely gone. So I don't see an edge for Nashville really anywhere. I think maybe on paper they're a better team, but I think Arizona plays better, and I have Arizona in 5 games.
You really think that Kemper and Ranta are better than Fleury and Leonard?
Well, I mean that was newly created. So sorry, I didn't think of that now. But
all right, I was going to say, wow.
Statistically, yes, they are.
You have 2 stud goalies in Vegas. You have 2.
I'm not talking about like
goalies.
who's a better talent and who has more athleticism, whatever. Statistically, they are better. Fleury's statistics were not great this season, and I love Fleury.
Take him.
Leonard had really good numbers.
All right, show him.
I heard. I agree with you, Dean. I think they should. Nashville should start Saros. Yep. I think you go 1. He's had a better season. 2. I think you go with him, and if something happens that he doesn't play well or something, then you have Rene, and he's like, he's a fan favorite. He's a team favorite. You can go right to him. If you go the other way, it looks like if Rene struggles, then you're struggling to get Saros in there or whatever. But yeah, I like Saros to start. And Arizona, I heard that Chaika, there was a team that was interested, that wanted to talk to him about something. And at first they said the team, they weren't going to allow it. And then they changed their mind. They said they will allow it. And Chaika said, I'm just going to, talk to them to get, information out of them. And it ended up being, I don't know if that was the team that he's going to go to or not, but then he ended up quitting after that. So there's like a lot of stuff that went on with that whole.
It's a mess.
It really is a mess. But this one, I'm like, I want to say Nashville just because, they've been to the playoffs before and you would think they're a better team, but I don't know. Arizona's kind of, they could be sneaky. I don't know. I think this goes 5 games. It could be either team. So I don't know. I had Nashville in the beginning, but now I'm kind of thinking maybe Arizona could squeak it out. I don't know.
That's because of my decision.
I don't know. It's tough.
Are you gonna
if I had to make a pick now, I'm going to pick Nashville.
Yeah. All right.
Nashville
All right, Sam.
In 5.
in 5.
I've got skin in the game on this series. There's 2 factors. John
Taylor Hall's
Hines,
obviously one of them.
no, John Hines will absolutely confuse Arizona, and they're going to take after their GM and just quit. So I have Nashville winning.
And how
All
many?
right. However many games
4.
it takes.
4 games. Okay.
4.
All right, one of the series that I think is going to be the most fun to watch, Vancouver Canucks and Minnesota Wild. I think it's actually going to be a really interesting series. Nick, you want to give a quick rundown?
You said this is the Wild Vancouver
Yeah, Wild
series?
Canucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a shame that this is the one series where the players not allowed to play from overseas really hurts, because Kirill Kaprizov would have been amazing for the Wild and basically just what they needed to compete. I think without him, their offense just isn't good enough, just straight up. I think their defense is great, and the numbers show it. They had one of the best defenses across the year, but I just you have to be able to. It's harder to score in the playoffs than it is in the regular season. If they couldn't score in the regular season, I don't think they're going to score here. Dean Evison is obviously trying to coach for his job and try to prove that he should be turned from the interim coach to the regular or whatever, just the regular head coach. So there's some motivation there. But when you look at the motivation for the Vancouver Canucks, I mean, this is the first time that their star players get to play in the postseason. You got Quinn Hughes fighting for a Calder Trophy. I know the vote's already in, but you got Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, Jake Virtanen. There's just a ton of amazing, talented players, and then you got really good role players like JT Miller and Tyler Toffoli. And then there's also Jacob Markstrom, who's playing for a contract. If Jacob Markstrom has a big postseason, he's going to make a lot of money, even with a flat salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's just a ton of more motivations for the Vancouver Canucks. And I just think they're a more talented team, and they have the high-end talent. All the high-end talent on Minnesota are kind of past the age of 30. So, and Minnesota kind of punted on the season a little bit. I mean, they got a good return for Jason Zucker, but Galchenyuk hasn't really done anything with them, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see him as a healthy scratch at some point during the series, just because it seems like they haven't found the right fit for him. So there's just too many question marks with Minnesota, and I would have really thought about picking them if Kaprizov was able to play in this series, but he's not. So it's an easy. I'll go with Canucks in 4 just because of chicanery.
Yeah, Kaprizov is the best player on a team that's not in the playoffs this year, I think. Obviously Dean Evison was 8-4 with the Wild after Boudreau. Good old Cheeks got fired after 57 games.
It's way too long.
I think they are. Yeah, I know. I think they're a very good defensive team. Which, but that's who knows. I mean, Boudreau seems to stay where it is welcome wherever he goes. But I think that they are going to make this series tight because of that defense. Jonas Brodin, I think, is also another underrated defenseman in the league. And then their top 4 is crazy. But going back to Vancouver, I mean, friend of the podcast, Brock Besser, I mean, he's going to be the MVP of this series. I think that
Flo MVP also.
Flo, yeah, well, that guy's got some beautiful locks. But you talk about it: Pettersson, Besser, Virtanen. You got Thatcher Demko and Markstrom, who will look for a payday. JT Miller was, quietly their leading scorer and one of the better players on that team. Tyler Toffoli knows exactly where to go, where to be. I think it's Canucks. I think they're in 4, and like I said, Brock Besser, MVP.
Yeah, it's young stars versus veterans.
Who's this Virtanen person you speak of?
Virtanen. Did I say Virtanen?
Oh, no, you said Virtanen, I think.
I did?
It's young stars versus veterans here. I think Minnesota's too old and too slow. Real quick, Vancouver in 3.
Damn it, Steven. I also have Vancouver in 3. Markstrom, I think, had a very quiet, really good season. I think he's he's the better goalie of the two over there, because I think they're still undecided between.
No, it's Markstrom.
No, I mean on Minnesota.
Oh yeah,
So
there's four.
Yeah,
They're bringing four
Stalock,
goalies,
so-
and instead it could be any of the four.
Yeah, it's gonna be
So
Stalock though.
yeah. So I think they're just so much better than them. So I got Vancouver in 3.
Sam, real
just for
fast.
you, Sam.
There you go, Sam.
I had Vancouver from the beginning. They're going to avenge their loss back in 1919 as the Vancouver Millionaires.
I know that weighs heavily on them. That loss.
I have a heavy interest in this, and I predicted that the Vancouver Canucks will win the Stanley Cup, and the Brock Nest monster will make his way to Newark.
The Brock Nets.
No, he's not going to Newark. He's not dumb enough to go to Newark. Anyways, we'll get off this one real quick.
Last series.
Yeah, Flames and Winnipeg Jets. Nick, before we let you go, you want to give us a quick rundown on this?
Dumb enough to go to Newark? Am I gonna? All right,
No,
I'll
I
just
know
put that
he doesn't have any ability to go there. I know. I'm just being a jerk.
It's fine. We all have our bad opinions, and that one's yours. That's okay.
No, he doesn't want to go anywhere in New Jersey.
Taking on the Winnipeg Jets. This is another one I'm kind of on the fence about, just because this is really a last hurrah for the Winnipeg Jets. They have 15 free agents this year. A couple of them are restricted, but I think 11 of them are unrestricted free agents. So they're really
They just lost a bunch last year
they
too.
don't have much coming after the season. They only have $15 million in salary cap space. So I don't know really what they're going to do. I've been on record that I think that the Devils are going to end up with Patrick Laine next season. I think that it just makes a lot of sense on a lot of fronts. But that's neither here nor there. That's for another podcast. Calgary's a good team, though. They were the top seed last year, and they blew it in the playoffs. We forget about them because the Lightning were such a juggernaut, and they fell to the Blue Jackets. The number one team in the West also blew it.
Yep.
So, they have a lot to play for here, but I'm going to go with the hot goalie, and I'm going to go with the should-be Vezina winner, Connor Hellebuyck, and the Winnipeg Jets. I think that a couple players can have a big series, and Nikolaj Ehlers, and I think Laine could have a big series. I think he has to get a little better defensively, but that's neither here nor there. They've faced so much uncertainty and so much like with the Bufflin situation, with trading away Trouba before the season, losing Tyler Myers. They lost a lot of big names, and then just to come back and have the season that they did, I think that the fact that they can face adversity like that is going to help them go a long way, and I think that they're going to come ahead of the Flames. I think it's going to go 5. I think these two teams are similarly talented, but I think that the Flames are going home early again this season.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this offense, right? I mean, I got you look at Scheifele with Connor and Wheeler on that one line, that second line, Ehlers, Laine, and Andrew Kopp. That offense is ridiculous. The defense getting Dylan DeMello in that trade with Ottawa definitely helped that defensive core. Obviously, Hellebuyck, who I think is going to be the Vezina winner as well. But yeah, Ehlers, you mentioned him. I think he's the dark horse. I think he goes ahead and has a great series. Calgary's also got their offensive depth. Monahan, who's been slipping year after year, but Johnny Gaudreau, Elias Lindholm. You got Backlund, Tkachuk, and Sam Bennett on that second line. You also got guys like Luch. Some pretty decent winger depth. But that defense, Mark Giordano, Hannafin, Brody. They got some good players. Hamannik's not going to play. He's going to be out for this series. I think they're goaltenders between Rittich and Talbot. I think they'll probably start Rittich, but yeah, I agree with you. I think it's Winnipeg. I say in 4.
Ooh.
All right. I mean, I'm going to keep this short and sweet for the most part. So the Calgary Stars in last year's postseason were bad. They weren't even okay. They were just bad. And this team needs to find an identity really fast, because during the season they were mediocre. They can't figure out who their number one goalie is. Once somebody takes the reins, then they immediately falter, and the other one comes in, and it's just back and forth. And it's not even that they're having a goalie battle because they're both playing well. It's usually because they're both playing bad. Connor Hellebuyck, I think, is Winnipeg's X factor. He's a Vezina Trophy finalist, should probably win it. I think he could have arguably been included in the Hart conversation. And I think just like the entire season being on his shoulders, this postseason is going to be exactly the same. I'll say the X factor for Calgary is Sam Bennett's mustache because he has a glorious piece of nose furniture hanging out there. Great. X factor for Winnipeg is Connor Hellebuyck, and I think he does it for Winnipeg, and Winnipeg wins in 5.
It's Lanny McDonald-esque.
Yeah,
it's getting there. It's getting there.
It's wonderful.
It is pretty good. I also got. I think it's going to be a close series just because these teams always play really good against each other. They always have really good games. I like Winnipeg more than Calgary just because of the goaltending. I think the goaltending is not even close. Yeah. Hellebuyck versus Rittich or Talbot or whoever they decide to start, it's not even close. So I think that's the determining factor for me. I'm going because these guys are so close. I'm going to say Winnipeg, but I'm going to say Winnipeg in 5.
All right,
Sam, finish her up.
Yeah, it's what my good friend Hansi would say. JETS, suck. The Flames are going to win the Battle of Alberta. The Oilers will fall flat as my previous prediction. I'm saying Flames in 5 in honor of Jerome McGinley.
Nick, before we let you go, who was your Cup Finals picks, and who do you think wins that championship?
I feel like it would be silly for me to make that prediction before. Okay, I'll try.
Yeah, you got to. That's why it's fun.
You're so gracious. I think that this is going to be a wild season. I think that this is going to just make absolutely no sense. I think as long as this can I don't see the problem is I don't know how the seeds are going to shake out, like with the top 4 teams. Because I think that the Lightning and the Penguins are going to end up in the Eastern Conference Finals because most of us hate ourselves, but it is what it is. The Western Conference, I literally have. I think something crazy is going to happen. Let's go with Dallas. I like Dallas. I think Dallas is a good team. I think they have a really good goaltender.
Sneaky.
The Chevrolet clan just all got boners. So.
I bet you a lot of people don't even realize they're one of the top 4 teams, and they're not in this return to play tournament. I bet you a lot of people, if you ask them like, "Oh, where did Dallas end up seeding?" They'll be like, "Oh, probably like 6, right? 6, 7, some were 5, maybe." But when you tell them like, "No, they're like one of the top 4 teams," I think the same thing goes for Philadelphia. But I think that Pittsburgh just has some kind of tenacity. I'll go with Pittsburgh beating the Lightning in the Eastern Conference Finals, and why not? We'll go with Dallas winning it all.
It's the last time you're on the show. Sorry.
Schwimm, who's your Cup final pick?
Oh, God. I'm not making a pick.
Come on, let's go. Hurry up.
I'm gonna do a crazy one. It's gonna be nuts. We're not gonna know who. It's gonna be like friggin'. I'm gonna pick 2 random teams. It's gonna be Chicago versus.
Oh my God.
The Florida Panthers. It's gonna be an all shit show.
This is the last time you're on the show too.
Didn't last time he's on the show too.
I did.
Chicago. He picks Edmonton beat Chicago, but Chicago in the Cup final.
Yep.
That's how this podcast works.
What do you got? Let's go, Penguins.
I mean, homer alert here, but if it's all a matter of if the Penguins stay healthy, I think the Penguins move past the Eastern Conference. I think someone's going to beat Boston. Pittsburgh's not. I don't even think Pittsburgh's going to play Boston. I think I agree with Nick, and it's going to be Pittsburgh versus Tampa Bay in
Somebody will beat Boston
Eastern
for
Conference
you.
final.
You don't have to worry about it.
And that's bold of me to pick because I actually think Tampa might even be swept again in the first round. But
it could be,
but maybe not.
Wow.
Out of the West, yeah, the West is the trickiest one because it's like who's going to. But I'm going to say I'm going to give it to St. Louis again, back to back, going to the Cup again.
Oh, you took my pick.
I won't tell you who's going to win the Cup. I'll tell you that's going to be the matchup.
Well, you
got St. Louis Pitt.
St. Louis Pitt.
All right, Sam. Did you already give your picks real fast? Your cup final?
Vancouver all the way.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. All right. Well,
Who's coming out of
I'm
the
going with. He already said it's Toronto.
Toronto, Vancouver. Okay.
Yeah. Steve just told my Western pick with St. Louis Blues. I think that they're very underrated in the playoff matchup, and I think the delay actually helped them. So I went Blues Lightning, and I have the Lightning winning the cup. So congrats, Schwimm. Nick,
Damn it,
thank you so much for
everything.
Every
Nick,
team he roots for loses. I want you to know that. I want you to know that.
That's not true.
It's 100% true.
We do want to thank you so much for taking your time out to talk with us and get some matchups, and we'll definitely have you on to talk a little more Devils. I actually do think with your prediction about Line A that does come true. I've seen that for a while now. So I think Line A is a Devil, and I think Brock Besser stays in Vancouver. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and
thanks, Nick.
We'll have to do more crossover episodes in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely, Nick. Thank you so much, man. Cheers.
Right.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers with my empty can.
So yeah, that was our quick picks. Thank you, Nick, for coming on. That was great stuff. Sam, before we just leave out, I just wanted to touch base on one more. Can we just, or do we have to go, or do we want to finish up just those finalists? Do we have 2 minutes?
Oh yeah, no, we have time. I told Nick off air that it was about 15 minutes, and he was on about an hour.
He was on the whole time.
It was almost like 14, right? Something like that.
I mean, we appreciate Nick's. We appreciate his opinion. I mean, that was really good stuff, and thank him for coming on.
We got a plug from Pucks and Pitchforks blog on fansided.com. Just got to get that in there.
Does he have Twitter or Instagram or anything like that? Maybe you want to take a look and let me know.
At Nick_Villano. I believe
so good follow. We do follow him. Really good follow. So we did just want to touch base on that the finalists for the Hart, the Lindsay, and all that stuff, because that came out and it's been a little bit. But for the Hart and for the Lindsay, same thing. We had the forwards. We had Draisaitl, McKinnon, and Panarin. Everyone knows where I go on this one, but I think Leon Draisaitl takes it. So that was the nominees for the Calder Trophy. You had Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, and Dominic Kubalik. Like I said, I think Makar takes that. You guys seem to think Hughes.
Yep.
Jack Adams is a good one between the Bruins, Bruce Cassidy, Blue Jackets, John Tortorello, and the Flyers, Lane Vigneault, who stinks. I think it's Blue Jackets coach John Tortorello. I think he wins again.
Ew.
I think it's him. I think it's
Bruins?
I think it's him or Vigneault.
Oh, I don't think it's Vigneault.
I think it's definitely Vigneault.
I don't think it's Cassidy.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's not.
No, I don't think it's
Cassidy.
Cassidy.
Think it's Cassidy either.
No.
And I don't think it's Tortorella. I think it's Vigneault.
I'll say if I had to pick one, I'll say Tortorella.
I'll pick Mike Sullivan.
Lady Byng Memorial, McKinnon, Austin Matthews, and Ryan O'Reilly. Selke Trophy, which I think it's going to be a first-time winner, Sean Couturier, but he's also flanked by Patrice Bergeron and Ryan O'Reilly.
That's tough.
You guys it is tough, but Norris Trophy, it's crazy. I think Carlson's going to win, but he's not even the best on the list. It's between Hedman and Yossi for me. I would pick
I don't
Yossi.
think he wins.
They need to make a separate.
They love
make a
that
separate
stupid
defensive
points.
award.
Yeah,
it's all
defensemen
point.
get
You
points.
need have
they
a
love
best
it.
defenseman and then have an award for best offensive defenseman.
I still think Roman Yossi gets it. I think Roman Yossi's going to get it.
I hope he does. Yeah, do the Norris and then do the Bobby Orr Trophy.
I think it's trophy. Yeah,
do the Bobby Orr for
the
most
high scoring defenseman or whatever. Yeah, I agree.
And then Vezina,
Damn it, I gotta stop agreeing with you.
Tuukka, Connor Hellebuck, and Vasilevsky. It's Connor Hellebuck.
Gotta be Hellebuck.
It could.
Yeah,
I mean, Rath's stats are also amazing. So, but I mean, I think he's played far.
Vassy led the league and wins again, but he's not.
Sam, I'm still dealing with this beer that went through my nose because you're damn buzzer. Oh my god.
All right, I just muted Billy so he can recover. Just muted him.
He's choking on his own rage over there.
Yeah. Look at Billy. Why don't you have another? Just have another beer again, Billy. Just have another beer again. Yeah, have another one. You got to get yourself. Yeah, just have another one.
Oh man, I finished that entire thing.
Nice.
Let me know when I'm back.
You're back.
Oh, you're back.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I just said have another beer. Just have a little sip, just to make sure your throat. You gotta take your time. All right.
All right. Well, pretty good long episode. I'm sure we bored all these poor people to tears. But yeah, I mean, obviously the playoffs coming up. It's fantastic. We do hope it continues to stay this way, where players are testing negative, and the NHL looks like it might be the best sport to come out of this whole thing, with just keeping their players away, keeping them safe. One central area, like you said, I think the NFL and baseball have this totally wrong. I think that's gonna cause some issues, but NHL, there's not many times that I give Gary Bettman the thumbs up, but he did a good job on this. You got the right people in the room.
The entire process has been A+. I know there's been a lot of criticism over the draft. I think there's still a little bit of criticism for the draft, but even the draft is.
Is fine. I don't like hearing him speak. Watching him speak just bothers me. Like his tone and like his stupid little. Everything he does just bothers me. Like,
knock on wood that this season keeps going. But gents, I gave this a 4, and this one was bonus stage IPA by Otter Creek. I gave it a 3.75. What do you guys got? 4 for Schwimm.
Right there.
4.25. Drink Nightmare beer.
Sam,
this can.
Sam, what'd you give your
awesome.
What'd you give your Duncan?
A number 9.
9 out of 10 on that Duncan.
9 out of 5.
Wow. Nice.
Schwimm, take her home.
All right, guys, I love you. Friendship is like peeing on yourself. Everyone can see it, but only you get the warm feeling it brings.